IRCC is quietly tightening the rules. Here's what you must do. Something serious is happening inside IRCC, and hardly anybody is talking about it. Applications that should have been approved are getting refused. Files that met every single rule on paper, IELTS, funds, school acceptance, are being tossed aside with vague, generic reasons. It's not a coincidence, it's not bad luck, it's a shift. A quiet, invisible tightening of the entire Canadian immigration system. And unless you understand it, you what? I'm Jazz Dillon, licensed immigration consultant and founder of Real West Immigration. What I'm about to tell you isn't speculation. It's what I see in the field every day. Decisions that make no sense. Officers second-guessing genuine people and files being refused, not because of who you are, but because of how your story feels. This is the new era of immigration. One ruled not by eligibility, but by suspicion. Over the past year, IRCC has stopped trusting the surface of applications. Now they're going underneath. They're cross-checking every record, comparing data across CBSA, CRA, and provincial education systems, and silently scoring applicants based on credibility indicator. You won't find that term in any public guide, but it's real. It means your file is no longer judged on whether it's complete. It's judged whether it feels believable. Think about that for a second. You could meet every official requirement and still lose because your file just doesn't feel right. Maybe your savings came too suddenly. Maybe your career shift seems unrealistic. Maybe your travel plan doesn't sound like something a genuine visitor would do. The result? Rejection. No explanation you can ever prove wrong. And this shift didn't happen overnight. It started when Parliament began investigating how thousands of students were slipping through the cracks of the compliance system. They asked IRCC how many study permits were withdrawn because of fraud or criminal activity, and the response stunned everyone. They simply didn't know. No data, no numbers, no idea. When a government realizes it's lost track of its own system, it doesn't open the gates wider, it slams them shut. And when it can't identify who the bad actors are, it starts profiling everybody. That's why during the same committee hearing, IRCC officials named India as one of the top countries where fraud has been detected. Do you understand what that means? It doesn't just target the guilty, it shadows the innocent. It means every single applicant from India now carries invisible suspicion before they've even uploaded their documents. And because India represents the largest share of students, that suspicion spills over into other countries too. Pakistan, Nigeria, Philippines, Bangladesh. Anyone with volume becomes risk. It's guilt by association, hard-coded into officer training. This is the system you're applying into right now, and it's only going to get harsher. Then came the number that suddenly changed everything. 79,000. 79,000 students labeled as missing. The government said they were non-compliant, untracked, or possibly gone. The truth? Most were just unreported. Transfer schools, changed addresses, records not updated. But the public didn't hear that nuance. They heard one line: 79,000 missing international students. That's all it took. And from that moment, IRCC stopped treating applications as opportunities and started treating them as investigations. Now, every single officer's first instinct is not, does this person qualify? It's, can I trust this person? That's why refusals are climbing quietly, even for strong profiles. It's not that you did something wrong. It's that the political climate around immigration has turned defensive. The system is protecting itself. And this defense posture bleeds into every stream. Visitor visas, work permits, study permits, PR, even express entry candidates with perfect CRS scores are being flagged for review. Work permit holders are being asked to prove genuine employment with extra payroll verification. Visitor visa applicants are being refused because their purpose feels unclear. It's no longer about eligibility, it's about optics. And here's what's worse. Officers are now trained to connect dots that don't exist. They look for small things, an address mismatch, a financial statement that doesn't flow, a gap in studies, and assume the worst. I've seen completely legitimate clients refused because they used a shared family account or because their letter of explanation mentioned the word opportunity instead of temporary visit. That's how thin the line is right now. Because the biggest change isn't even the officers, it's the algorithms. Before an officer even sees your file, IRCC's internal system runs automated risk model. It analyzes your age, program, country, income pattern, and compares it with millions of previous refusals. If your profile matches high-risk patterns, your chance drops instantly. You could lose your case before a human even reads your name. And yet applicants still think this is about luck. It's not, it's about preparation. Because for every rejection, there's someone who got approved. Not because they were smarter, but because their file told a cleaner story. That's what most people miss. IRCC doesn't want you to just be genuine. They want you to look genuine on paper. And that's where most people lose. Let me tell you what this looks like behind the scenes. When officers review your documents, they're not just reading your SOP or checking your funds. They're asking, does this applicant fit the profile of someone who will comply with the terms of their stay? If your education path doesn't line up with your past experience, red flag. If your finances don't match your family's income, red flag. If your college is in the news for over-recruiting or a student explanation, another red flag. And that's another secret no one talks about. Institutional guilt. After the Conestoga College controversy, the government decided to hold institutions accountable. That means if a school is under scrutiny, every student applying through that school inherits suspicion. You could have a flawless application, but if your college is on IRCC's internal watch list, you could be done for. This is why choosing where to study or which employer to work with isn't just about opportunity, it's about survival. Now, I want you to understand something very clearly. Canada isn't anti-immigrant. It's not shutting down. It's recalibrating. The public pressure from housing, fraud, and cost of living has forced IRCC to shift from welcome mode to filter mode. That means fewer approvals, slower processing, and heavier vetting. The window is still open, but it's narrowing. And in this kind of environment, average files don't survive. You can't afford weak explanations or half-truths anymore. You need depth. You need logic. You need consistency that makes an officer stop scrolling and say, this makes sense. Because that's all it takes. One decision maker who believes your story. This is why I built Real West Immigration. Not to submit forms, but to create strategy. Real strategy. Built for how the system actually thinks today. I see the patterns. I see how risk codes are assigned. I know how credibility is assessed. And I help my clients design files that neutralize those risks before they reach an officer's screen. That's why I tell people don't compete on documents. Compete on perception. You can't change your past, but you can shape how it's interpreted. So if you're planning to apply in 2025 or 2026, this is your warning. Not from fear, but from reality. The rules are getting tighter, the scrutiny is getting deeper, and the margin for error is thinner than ever. But if you understand how the system sees you, you can still win. Don't wait until you're refused to figure out what went wrong. If you're serious about your future in Canada, book a private consultation with me. We'll go through your case line by line. I'll show you how exactly IRCC will view your file, and we'll rebuild it from the inside out so your story holds up under every level of scrutiny. The link is in the description. Don't leave your future to chance, not in a system this unpredictable. Because in Canadian immigration today, it's no longer the best that wins. It's the most believable one. I'm Jazz Dillon from Real West Immigration. Click the consultation link below. Let's get started. Stay sharp, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.